Thank you. So when Nancy messaged to say, we've got COVID, I can't talk, I was like, we're in Luke. Luke is my favourite gospel. So I was like, come on, I'll happily talk about Luke. Like, this is, I would say it's the greatest of the gospels, but that's perhaps an overstatement, but I do love it. It is my favourite to read. And then she said, I'm speaking on Jesus sending the 72. And I was like, really? An evangelism talk? Like, I am not the most evangelistic person. Like, why is Sally Tate? Sally Tate's like evangelism queen. Why is Sally Tate not doing this talk? Because, you went, shocking. But I'm loud. There's no question about a loud. I'm confident. I'm all good with that. But do you know what? Evangelism, talking about my faith to Christians, great. I'm all right with that. Talking about my faith to non-Christians, and I turn into this babbling, incoherent, unthought through wreck of a person. It really is just not my strength. And so I was like, really? So I started reading. I'm like, come on, let's get into the Bible. Let's get there. And so we're just going to work through this passage. And I'm going to tell you what Jesus has taught me while I've been reading this passage through. So, this is a little bit Bible study. I like my Bible like this and highlighting things. So this is the first part. I'm going to read it all the way through, and then we're going to go back to my little highlighted bits. So it says this. After this, the Lord appointed 72 others and sent them 2 by 2 ahead of him to every town and place where he was about to go. He told them, the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Ask the Lord of the harvest, therefore, to send out workers into his harvest field. Go. I am sending you out like lambs among wolves. Do not take a purse or bag or sandals, and do not greet anyone on the road. Next one, please. When you enter a house, first say, peace to this house. If someone who promotes peace is there, your peace will rest on them. If not, it will return to you. Stay there, eating and drinking whatever they give you, for the worker deserves his wages. Do not move around from house to house. When you enter a town and are welcomed, eat what is offered to you. Heal those who are ill and tell them the kingdom of God has come near to you. But when you enter a town and are not welcomed, go into its streets and say, even the dust of your town we wipe from our feet as a warning to you. Yet be sure of this, the kingdom of God has come near. Can we go back to the first slide, Bradley? Fab. So we're just going to crack on. After this, first 2 words in a chapter, in chapter 10. And I was like, well, that's going to give me a clue, isn't it? After what? It's really tempting sometimes when we read our Bible to read it out of context. Just to read like that little bit and not go, what's before? But again, what I love about Luke, he gives us clues after this. So turn back I go to chapter 9. After what? After the end of chapter 9, Jesus talks about followers, and he tells 3 little stories about following him. And it's these people coming to him and saying, I want to follow you, but first, I've just got to go and do this. I'd really like to follow you, but first, that? Anyone have children who say, I'm just? That is my children's favourite phrase. When I ask them to do something, they're like, I'm just going to do something else entirely different and ignore exactly what you've said. That is what Jesus is warning against. Do you know what? When Jesus is speaking to these people who are saying, I want to follow you, he's saying, great, but don't give me I'm just going to first. Follow me. So we've got to bear in mind as we start this passage, Jesus is asking for committed followers. And I love that. I'm all up for following. Do you ever play Follow My Leader as a child? I loved playing Follow My Leader up until the moment that it's my turn to be the leader. Because at that point, my mind goes blank. I'm like, I don't know what to do. Everyone else has made us do really funny things. And now I'm standing here at the front going, I don't know what to do. I like being a follower. Being a follower's great. Jesus asks us to be more than just followers. Jesus asks us to be heralds Heralds it's an old-fashioned word. We don't talk about being heralds very much anymore, but I love it because it describes exactly what he's asking us to do. He asks us to be heralds, to go ahead and speak of him, to go ahead and speak to him. So this passage tells us how to do that. And we're going to look at a few little bits. We're going to talk about who. Who does Jesus ask to be heralds? Where does he ask us to be heralds? When does he ask us to do this? What does it look like? And what skills is he going to equip us with? So the first thing that we are going to look at is who. Who is underlined in yellow? Who is he asking? He is asking the 72. Now, if you look at commentary on this, there's a little bit of like, is it 70? Is it 72? Is there symbolism? Is there symbolism? Well, do you know what? I quite like it. I don't know whether there is or isn't, but I actually really like the idea of there being symbolism in it. I like the idea of it because I think that Jesus is not just sending out a random number. He's saying, do you know what? These people are symbolic of the church. These people who are going out aren't just a core group. These people are all of us being sent out. That there's a difference. There is a difference between the 12 that we've heard about all the way through Luke and the 72. The 12, I feel like, have had like the advanced training course. They've been close to Jesus. They've had those little intimate little bits of discussion. They've seen the private, quiet miracles. They've had those conversations. They've asked questions. They've had those snippets of bonus teaching that you get when you hang out really close to someone. The 72 are nameless. The 72 are unfamous. The 72 are only qualification that they bring to this is they've said yes. They've said, yes, I am going to follow. And that tells me quite a lot about what Jesus is like. Because he looks at these people who have said yes, and he says, do you know what? Because you have said yes, I'm going to trust you. I'm going to empower you to go. And that's my first point today, is each of us are sent. We are trusted and empowered by Jesus. Not because we've received the special training or done an evangelism course or have, a part of a leadership team or a part of a special, we're the evangelists group. No. Jesus doesn't just send the 12 who've had the special training. He says, no, church, no. I'm going to trust you all. I trust you because, do you know what? You've said yes to following, so I'm going to trust you and empower you to go out before me. So where? Where does he ask us to go? He sent them 2 by 2 ahead of him to every town and place where he was about to go. Do you know what? When I read this, I was really struck by it. I've read this passage loads and loads of times. But I guess I didn't kind of see it properly. Where he was about to go. He didn't send them out to the places that he didn't have time to visit. He didn't send them out to somewhere new and different and like somewhere that he wasn't planning on going to. No, he sent them ahead of him to where he was going. And that's what Jesus does with us as well. He's not sending you out into a place with a load of people who Jesus couldn't care less about. He's not sending you out to a place where he's not got plans. He's sending you to a place that he's like, I've got plans. I've got plans for these people, and I want you to go ahead of me. I want you to go and be my herald, to speak of the kingdom of God to these people, because I'm coming. I'm coming, and I want them to know that I'm coming. Now, I, at the moment, or in the past, have worked for church. I used to be a children's worker here. And in that little phase of my life, I really noticed something that I guess was a bit weird, I guess. I had 0 non-Christian friends. Like, none. All my friends were in church. I didn't really go anywhere where there wasn't a Christian. I didn't really speak to anyone who wasn't a Christian. Like, I was in this really lovely, don't get me wrong, Christian bubble. And I really liked my Christian bubble. It's really nice and safe living in a lovely Christian bubble. And that, you know what, for a phase, actually, it probably was what I needed for a little bit. And if you're in that phase and actually you really feel, that's okay, because sometimes that bubble is training you and looking after you. But we've got to get out of the bubble, because people aren't going to hear about Jesus if we don't get out of the bubble. And I've been thinking a little bit about how that works for me. Where are my non-Christian friends? And you might want to think about that. If you're at work and you're actually going into somewhere and you're meeting people at work, then you probably are naturally meeting up with people, hanging out with people who aren't Christians. As work becomes more online, actually you may find that you are not meeting up with, having the social conversations with non-Christians. I think that's something that we will start to recognise more and more. I know my sister and my son-in-law have worked in offices all their life, and now both working from home. Son-in-law? Brother-in-law. That makes a lot more sense. And they're now working from home. And they don't really see anyone apart from their family every day. And that's a weird dynamic that is changing. And so if you are that kind of person who is working in an office, who was working in an office and is now working from home and not seeing people, you might need to just check, who am I seeing? Am I actually hanging out with anybody who doesn't know Jesus? Maybe I need to be a bit intentional and do that. For me, at the moment, with my lifestyle, it's the playground. That's where I hang out. That's where my friends are who aren't Christians. Maybe it's the break room at work. Maybe it's people you, play tennis with or you run with. But just have a think. Where am I seeing that? He goes on and says, do not greet anyone on the road. Now, this is a lovely quote. Tim Mackey would say it's like a hyperlink. We see it from the Old Testament a few times popping up. And what it tells us isn't, you unsociable lot, you mustn't talk to anybody. What it tells us is this is urgent. This is important. What we're not doing is we're not getting distracted and chatting here. Like, I am the queen of distraction. If I'm trying to do something, I'll be like this way to do it. And I'll finally get there 6 hours later via a million other little things. No. This is urgent. Jesus is telling these 72, this is your number one priority. Go and go fast, because the kingdom of God is coming. What I didn't say at the start is that this little passage in the Bible marks the beginning of Jesus en route to Jerusalem. This is like the turning point. It's the middle point in Luke, and it's the turning point, really, where he's suddenly going from, he's been teaching, he's been doing miracles. Now, he's set his face to Jerusalem. He's set his face to what is going to come, to the cross. He's en route. He knows the path ahead of him. He knows that this is urgent. And so that little bit is actually, no, get on with it. And for us, I think it still applies. Get on with it. This isn't when I start my next job, this isn't it can wait, because actually my tennis group starts meeting more regularly in the summer holidays. This is now. Who this week are you meeting up with? I'm not saying meet up with these people and be like, brr! But this is a now thing. This is urgent. And we do actually need to get our act together and get on with it. Can we switch to the next slide, Bradley? Thank you. When you enter a house, first say, peace to this house. If someone who promotes peace is there, your peace will rest on them. If not, it will return to you. Stay there, eating and drinking whatever they give you, for the worker deserves his wages. Do not move around from house to house. I love this. I love this little bit. Do not move around from house to house. Now, my natural place is loud, lots of people, up front, quite happy, but let's be very honest, quite superficial conversations and relationships. As an extrovert, as a person who likes big crowds, that's very comfortable for me. But this is not what Jesus is asking. Jesus is saying, no, this is personal. This is one family. You're going into one house. You're talking to one group of people. You're not standing on the streets proclaiming that Jesus is coming. You're heading into a house. You're building relationship. Now, before I got married, I lived in community. And if I'd married an extrovert, I would be back living in community. But I didn't, and it's like, would be torture for Matt. But I love community. I love living in community. I just adore living in community. I love waking up in the morning and there being people milling around. I love that in the middle of the night you quite often hear the kettle on and there's people making a cup of tea. I lived with teenagers. I loved living with teenagers. Living with teenagers, especially when they're not your own teenagers, is so much fun. I mean, like, you can cause so much chaos living with teenagers that are not your own teenagers. It's brilliant. But for me, living in community was fantastic. But it's also really hard because you have bad days. There are days when I am in a bad mood and I wake up and I am in a bad mood. Not because of anything, I'm just in a bad mood. There are days when I probably should have taken a shower, and I didn't, and I probably smelt. You know, I just couldn't be bothered. But when you live in community, everyone notices. Everyone knows. There are days when you make really bad choices about what you should do. There were days I was in my early 20s, and I'd have that extra glass of wine or two. And you're a little bit drunk, and what's coming out of your mouth actually isn't brilliant. It's not awful, but it's not great. It's a bit gossipy. It's a bit unpleasant. When you live in community, everyone sees. You can't hide it. And it really taught me quite a lesson about who I am and about how comfortable I am in my own skin. Because now, people only really see part of me. They see my presented side of me. That all went wrong when I had children. You see, my children, who here, they do quite a good job of angel child. But they're delightful and I love them, but they're a pain in the backside sometimes. They kick off on the pavement. They get to the school gate and they refuse to put their shoes on. They lie on the floor. They hide behind walls and refuse to go into their classrooms. My kids expose me on a regular basis. Because it's at those moments that I'm like, can I manage my perfect parenting luck? Can I do this consequential parenting? Can I do this? No, not every day. Some days my voice goes up and I holler at them and I yank them up and I shove them over my shoulder and I dump them on the floor and then I look around and there's 50 parents watching me. And I'm standing there thinking, really? Honestly, I'm a Christian. I'm supposed to be modelling this really lovely parenting, these perfect, beautiful Christian children. Yeah, it doesn't work. And do you know what? I'm quite glad. Because I have had so many conversations in the playground with parents who are like, oh, saw so-and-so kicking off, saw your child kicking off on the playground the other day. Then it's okay to come and talk to you. Because do you know what? When their child's kicking off in the playground, we're the same. We've all had that. When we show our real self, our self in the making, our self that Jesus is working on, our self that's not perfect, but is pushing towards Jesus, people are drawn to that. People want to chat because, do you know what? That's where we're at. That's where we're at. Perfect Christians are not very appealing, I don't think. Perfect Christians are actually quite like, no thanks. But when you're sat in the playground and you're honest with somebody and they see what's going on, they want to know how things are going to change. How did you manage it when she was doing that and you managed to get her back to you? What did you whisper in her ear that meant she gave you a hug and went in? Oh, we just prayed together. Oh, how weird is that? But shock horror, it often works. It's amazing. We've got to get out of this perfect Christian facade that we like to present to non-Christians. This might be embarrassing. I don't mean to be embarrassing, but so there's a lady, a friend of mine, who said, well, I don't mind going to home group at the Roderick's house because their house is a mess. And, I was like, oh. But you know what? How good is that? When people turn up to your perfect, pristine house, and you've done that, we've all done it. We've all done the 10-minute pre-home group emergency clean of our house. Like, that's clearly part of life. And don't get me wrong, I still do it. But when people come into your house and they see a bit of mess, they see the pile of washing that you have not folded and you probably never will fold because by the time you fold it, somebody else is going to have taken it out again. They see normal people doing life with Jesus. That's what we've got to be. So we are sent not just to bash people over the heads with the Bible. We've got to send into their houses to be normal people doing normal life with Jesus. With Jesus. That's really scary sometimes. But Jesus goes on. When you enter a town and are welcomed, eat what is offered to you. Heal those who are ill and tell them the kingdom of God has come near to you. Jesus doesn't send us out without any skills. He trusts us to go, but he equips us with the power. He sent those 72 out. Do you know what? I don't know if they'd performed miracles before. I doubt it. I think they'd probably seen them. They'd heard about it. Had they prayed for someone to be healed before? Actually, I'm not convinced they had. Jesus trusted them and he empowered them. Go, heal the sick. And he says that to us. Go, heal the sick. I'm empowering you. So when I'm in the playground and somebody tells me they're not very well, do I feel empowered to say, can I pray for you? When I'm in the playground or when I'm in an office and somebody tells me about a challenge in their family, do I feel empowered to pray for them there and then, or, to say to them, I'll pray for you? I have some of you know this, I set alarms on my phone to pray for people at certain times, and I tell people that that's what I'm doing. I say to somebody, you're going to be my 12 o'clock this week. And I set my alarm and I pray every day that week at 12 o'clock for people. And people really like that because you pray for them and stuff changes and they feel empowered because they know every day at 12 o'clock somebody is praying for them. God empowers you. Sorry, I'm wittering. God empowers you. Be brave. Be brave because you are trusted. I haven't got it on here, but my final little thing is, do you know what? It's not always easy. Doesn't always work perfectly. I don't see people becoming Christians in their droves around me. Haven't seen somebody in my friendship group become a Christian in a really long time. That's hard. It's hard to keep going when that's the case. But the 72 come back from their journey, and they come back to Jesus, and they're like, guess what? This happened, and this happened. And Jesus says to them, hey, it's all about God. It's all about God. And it got me thinking, Jesus gives feedback. He doesn't just leave them, send them out. He gives them some feedback. So he says, go. But when you come back, let's have a chat. Let's have a chat about how it went. So if you've been in a situation and it's not worked, have a chat. Have a little chat with Jesus. Why was that great? Why wasn't it great? What happened? Because do you know what? I have a feeling that Jesus is going to teach us how to do this even more. I'm going to pray and then hand back over to the band. Father, I'm scared of doing this. I think we all sometimes feel scared of talking about our faith. But I thank you that you trust me and you trust us. I thank you that you empower us to go and do this. Lord, where we don't feel empowered, fill us with your Spirit. Let us go with confidence to the places you've sent us, to the people we see every day, and proclaim the kingdom of God is coming. Jesus loves you. You are loved. Let us go out and tell that to people. Amen.